Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, October 17th, 2018, show number 1192. I am Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
Stoned yet?
Oh, yeah. Stoned all day long. Teacher. Do you remember that? Remember Cheech and Chong?
Oh, God, yes. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to Jim Dalrymple about his iPhone XS and X Max review. God, I'm never going to get those names right. We're also going to talk about probably a little bit about Google Plus, a little bit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're also going to talk, I think, this wonderful little email from one of the Your Mac Life listeners, Deborah Stern. Deborah got me thinking about, I want to tell you guys more about what you're going to learn if you take the photography workshop with us in Lisbon. You may have heard in the news. It'd be interesting to know how many of our American listeners, or even European listeners, know this. Did it make it to the news in your particular country, state, province, location, whatever it might be? Canada, at midnight last night, legalized marijuana use for personal use. Recreational use. For the most part, I think here in Canada, not that big a deal. There are obviously the usual groups who were for and against this. But overall, I don't think it's going to be that big an issue here in Canada. The news media played it up very, very funny. You were mentioning that there was the story of the first person in line in St. John, Newfoundland, saying this was the end of Prohibition.
The end of Prohibition. I didn't think of it as a prohibition. It's being referred to as a prohibition.
Yeah.
So.
Now, do you have any interest of running down to our nearest cannabis store and getting any pot, weed, Mary Jane?
Sorry to be
ganja?
Boring, but no.
Nah, me neither. Is that because of our age?
No, it's because it doesn't matter that it doesn't change anything. I think that people now think that people are going to run out and everyone's going to be smoking pot.
Sorry, the whole country's stoned.
Everyone. But that's not true. People that don't smoke pot aren't going to smoke pot now.
Right,
and people that smoke pot are going, yay, I can just go buy it. But maybe they don't want to buy it from the government. Maybe they still want to buy it from their dealer.
I don't think that's legal anymore, though, is it?
Yes, but there's dealers everywhere.
Yeah. I think the police would nail the dealer, not you.
I think they'd have to nail the dealer.
Yeah.
Because you'd only have this little bit for your use.
I think it's 30 grams.
Is
which
it 30?
is about, I think I'm going to guess 5 to 10 joints.
Right.
And that's enough. All right.
That's all right. How much do you need?
That should be a good evening, a good weekend for you. I remember when I was a kid in Nova Scotia, these two guys got caught with a van full of hashish. All right, and hashish, you need very, very, very tiny amounts of it to get very, very stoned, speaking from personal experience. And these guys had 450 pounds of hashish in this van, and they tried to claim to the judge it was for personal use. And we were all like, oh, bravo with that defense, because that's trafficking, dude. You know, you were going for a very, very long time for trafficking. But for personal use, it would be a slap in the wrist. So these guys were, it's for personal use.
It's not going to be, hashish wouldn't be included, though. No.
But for me, and we were talking about this on the pre-show, I have no interest in it because I did a lot of marijuana, a lot of drug use in general in college, but marijuana in particular just made me sleepy. That's all it ever did to me, was just make me want to I wanted cookies and I wanted a nap. I wanted Doritos and a nap. That's all I wanted. And so now it's like I don't want to have a nap. So why would I want to smoke dope now? But you pointed out to me, reminded me, I knew it, but I didn't really pay any attention. There are a number...
Keep
Folks,
going.
Did you hear that eye roll?
He does not pay attention to me.
That eye roll was fierce.
Go on. What was I right about? What am I right about?
The fact there's varieties of marijuana now.
There are so many different kinds of strains that you can get now. It's amazing.
And do the different...
It's a menu.
And do the different strains do different things, affect you differently?
Well, they've got the maybe someone can help me out. There's the name. It sounds like on the couch. The name is the letters look like that. So that will make you all very relaxed and sleepy. And then there's the ones that get you going and get your brain going, and you can do stuff and go out and just, because you're lively.
See, when we wanted to do stuff in college, we just did cocaine.
Yes, but I'm not. Well,
it was just easier.
It's
Dope chilled you out. Cocaine woke you up.
Yeah. No. This makes your head busier.
Sherry, I want that brain going strain.
I know, right? Yeah. There's so many different kinds, and then there's the non-THC kind, and you can.
Why would you smoke non-THC kind?
No, you wouldn't smoke it. You take it for different things. You can take it for anxiety.
Oh, okay. So medicinal marijuana.
I mean, and all the docs are all very. There's no evidence. All that stuff.
Yeah, there's a stuff called CBD,
CBD.
which is basically marijuana extract without the THC aspect of it. And you've taken that for pain.
I've just started to try it because I just wanted to see. I had a big conversation with the guy about it, and I looked it up, and they'll get their research done.
MacBan is non-THC weed, like non-alcoholic beer. Yeah, that would be pretty much it. Yeah. Except you just generally wouldn't smoke non-THC weed. I'm assuming non-THC weed, CBD, is more pill form or putting in brownies, or you were saying earlier, salad?
No, that's the real THC marijuana.
Oh, okay.
You can buy salad dressings, and as long as you have people's consent, you can say you can have some salad. There's some... And everybody has a salad with their steak and wine, and they're having a good old time.
See, I think that I think you're right that people who don't care for marijuana aren't going to run out and suddenly smoke marijuana, and those who do will get in less trouble when they do it. One of the issues, though, is we're going to have here in Canada, and I don't know that we've gotten a solution to it yet, is the police. Up until midnight last night, having marijuana on you was an offense. Now it's not. But being under the influence of marijuana is still an offense here in Canada. So driving while stoned is still an offense. The problem is we don't have, and there is no reliable method to test for levels of THC in your bloodstream, unlike the blood alcohol test that we do when people are suspected of drinking while driving. So the police are going to have a very, very tough time with this, because there are going to be a certain amount of idiots who are going to get stoned and drive to go get cookies.
Yes, and they already are, though. They're already all out there doing it.
I did in college. Oh, God, yes. We would. If I wasn't sleepy, I wanted, like, junk food.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know how many drive-thrus I went through stoned. Like Wendy's or McDonald's or whatever it was. You just went, whatever's closest.
I don't like munchy after effects of marijuana. It's annoying.
Yeah. So the police are going to have to deal with this. And the problem is, how are the police going to be able to prove, beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt, that you are in fact driving while stoned? It's not the guy next to you who is smoking up. And that's why the cop smells marijuana. It's going to be a tough. I don't envy the cops nowadays. Or
they will be putting an immense amount of resources into coming up with some way of figuring out how they're going to have guidelines for it, or have something that will read it, or something. You can bet.
But could the argument have been made that you shouldn't have done this legalization until we had methodology to be able to test for it?
No.
The other problem we're going to have is, and again, I don't know if Americans have thought about this or care at all, it's going to be really interesting and difficult for some people to cross the border in the United States.
Very, very difficult.
Up until a week ago, Customs Border Protection, CBP, was saying that if we ask you that have you ever smoked marijuana, and you say yes, we can prevent you from coming in the United States. If we ask you what your job is, and you say you work in the marijuana industry, the legal marijuana industry in Canada, we can prevent you from coming in the States. Now, they've softened that a little bit, but there's still an issue with, the Canadians are just as bad in some ways. the Border Patrol guys have an immense amount of leeway when it comes to stopping people from entering the country. And to a certain degree, rightfully so. They are your literal frontline troops to prevent whatever bad things that you want to prevent coming into your country are. The problem is, if this thing is legal in Canada, being involved in it, I'm not saying you can bring your drugs into America. No, don't do that. That's stupid. But if they say, hey, what's your job? And you say, I work at the local government cannabis store, and they say, well, you can't come into America, that ain't right.
No, I agree. I don't think that's right.
That would be the equivalent to Canadians saying, where do you work, to an American, and you saying,
at the gun store.
I work in a gun store, and that's going, well, you can't come to Canada.
Sorry, that's right. That is exactly right. Although you can own a gun in Canada if you have license.
Yeah. But still, mosquito. I don't remember whether I've ever smoked marijuana. I drank a lot, and I have gaps in my memory. But it's going to be an issue because the Americans have also said that if you lie to us, because the first thing you're going to do is like, well, if they ask me where I work, I'm going to tell them McDonald's. I'm not telling them I work in a pot store.
You can't lie, though.
But if they find out that you've lied, they can ban you.
You're banned.
But they can ban you anyway. You know, if you work in a pot store and you admit that you work in a pot store, they could then ban you. Put your name on the list and you're not coming to the States.
See, I
so
don't
you
like
might as well
that.
lie. You don't like what?
That person, that's just their job. That's just so wrong.
It's not who they are, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you lie?
No.
Even knowing that they might ban you if you tell the truth?
If I lie, I would freak. I would be too...
You're a shitty liar,
I
though.
would hold on. Like,
You're
I would
just
be
a
thinking, oh my
terrible-
God, I just lied to the U.S., you know?
You think you were lying to the whole country.
I would just feel terrible.
Every single 300 million citizens, and you'd walk around apologizing. I lied to you.
I lied.
I lied to you. I lied to representatives of your country. I'm so sorry.
I find the Canadian border people more hardcore than the U.S. usually, in my experience.
They absolutely can be. Monty, Shawn, can Melissa play poker? Not well. No.
I love poker.
But you're no good at it.
I used to play a lot of poker as a young woman, and I was not bad at it.
And then now the other thing is, what are you shaking your head about?
Nothing. Keep going.
The other thing is, another interesting aspect of this is, as an adult with children, you don't have to hide your marijuana smoking from your kids anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you also shouldn't smoke marijuana in front of your kids.
No, and in my mind, if you are a family that's very cognizant of that, you still won't smoke marijuana in front of your kids. The legalization of it won't prompt parents that are already doing it away from their kids out of the house. They're not suddenly going to go, oh, come on, let's go do it in the house. No, it's fine. But they're doing it not doing it for different reasons for their children.
But you might
think,
it's middle of winter. I need a hit. Rather than go outside in the cold, we'll just sit here while the kids are watching TV and smoke marijuana.
I think the families that do that are doing it now.
Possibly.
Not going to make any difference.
It was very funny. Last night we're lying in bed watching TV, and suddenly it didn't become legal everywhere in Canada instantly. It became legal at midnight. So as the time zones moved along. So last night about 8:30 our time, we're lying in bed and going, someone's celebrating early. Because there was a very strong smell of pot.
It really
coming
was.
from somewhere around
very,
us.
like right in the window.
Yeah, it was very funny. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Canada. The good thing is that it's standardized across the country. Unlike you poor Americans who have some states legalized it, some states haven't. The federal government hasn't. So it's legal in Washington state at the state level, but illegal at the federal level. Legal in California at the state level. Legal in Colorado at the state level, but illegal. That's just insanity and confusing and weird and just going to cause a lot of problems. The other thing is they're talking here in Canada about wiping the record of those who were convicted of marijuana. They're not, it's not guaranteed, but they're talking about it. Wiping the record of those who have been convicted of marijuana crimes in the past for recreational use.
Just for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, for recreational use.
Yeah.
You get caught with a couple of joints or whatever. You get caught with pounds of it, no. But if you get caught with 20,
Just a
30,
little,
half
he's
ounce,
going to drop the charges.
which I think is a good thing.
I agree.
I think
It shouldn't hold anyone back in their life because they had a little bit of marijuana.
Folks, later on the show, we're going to be talking about, I get this lovely email from Deborah Stern, who is going to, her and husband are going to be joining us on the Lisbon trip. And she said something, I'll read her email to you, and it got me to thinking, what can you learn about photography in Lisbon? We'll talk about that later on the show. But up next, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. In our phone, we've got now our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. How are you?
I'm good, thanks very much. You posted your review of the iPhone S and the iPhone Max. One of the questions that I'm always curious about is, do you read any other reviews before you write up your own?
So normally, no. I don't read anything from anybody until I write mine because I don't want to be biased. But this time, since people posted long before I did, I did eventually read some of the reviews.
The do the I don't want to say do the reviews influence you, but do you pay attention to certain aspects because someone said this and someone else said this and I just read that kind of stuff?
I take it as general stuff. Like the thing that stood out to me in a lot of the reviews was, the iPhone XS isn't going to sell because of the XR.
Yeah.
I don't believe that to be true. I didn't believe it the day they announced it. I don't believe it now. So, it's things like that that kind of stood out to me, not specific features or because I know what impresses me and what doesn't. So that's usually what I go by, regardless.
One of the things that you said in the review that struck me was the idea of one-handed versus two-handed. Explain to the audience what you were talking about there.
Well, a lot of people talked about the iPhone Max not being able to be a two-handed phone.
Yep.
And I thought about that for a while, and I was using both XS and Max, and I realized that my way of using a phone one-handed is, maybe it's different than other people,
No.
but the only thing I actually do one-handed is scroll.
Yeah.
And I can do that no matter what size the phone is. I can do that on my iPad. So I don't actually use one-handed typing. I always type two-handed regardless of the size of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the things that I do are two-handed anyway. So am I getting anything by going to the smaller phone? Not really.
Yeah.
Am I getting anything by going to the larger phone? Well, yeah, my eyes thank me because I can see it better.
That's right.
You know, and admittedly, that's an age thing. You know, I see some young people now with their phones. The text is so small, I can't even see it with my glasses on.
Yeah, really.
So, you know, the one-handed thing, to me, is not as big of an issue. You're not making anything really big, gain by going with a smaller phone for one-handedness. And as I said, maybe people are different, but I always type two hands, and I can two thumbs actually.
Yeah.
And I can type really fast with my two thumbs.
Yeah, your review made me look at the way I use my iPhone 10 and realizing you're right. I do use it two-handed. I've gotten used to using it two-handed because I do remember using it on previous iPhones and very easily almost having to use it one-handed, but very easily being able to do it one-handed. But now, yeah, I'm the same way. I use it two-handed all the time to type either two thumbs or to hold it in one hand and type with one finger too.
I believe that we use the iPhone with one hand because we previously had things like Blackberries and smaller Nokia phones,
Yep.
where it was almost impossible with those small Nokia phones to get two thumbs in there.
That's right.
I mean, you would use one thumb no matter what because
Yep.
you couldn't fit two in there. And we became accustomed to using one hand. Well, as the iPhone came and iPhone started to get bigger, we changed the way that we fundamentally work with a phone.
Yeah.
And to me, that was part of the whole thing when I sat back and thought about this one-handed, two-handed thing. And as soon as you start to track what you do, then you feel uncomfortable about tracking what you do because you're tracking what you do. Well, I tried to do that without actually thinking, like, okay, I'm going to pick up my phone, I'm going to play some music. Well, there could be a time when you just pick up your phone and you can one press and press the play button. Typically what I do, though, if I want to play a song and the phone's sitting beside me, I'll just touch the screen and touch the play button.
Yeah.
I won't even pick it up. So, that's one-handed use, I guess. I just don't see it as big of a deal as what a lot of people were making it out to be.
Yeah.
And the fact is, if you want a one-handed phone, get the XS. It's a one-handed phone. I mean, I know it is a little bit bigger, but it's not the 5C or, something like that. But still.
Is the difference in the two, the S versus the Max, that significant that you can one-hand it on one but not in the other?
Well, the Max, the Max is pretty big. It is a pretty significant change only because the screen is so tall.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I really like the Max.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I can't speak for how other people use it, but Just hold on a sec.
Sure.
They're going to want me to drive. I'm going to drive a fire truck later.
You're going to let you drive the fire truck? Is that what they said?
They're going to want me to drive a fire truck. Sorry, Shawn.
That's okay.
I'm at a benefit for firefighters.
Fire trucks. They're gonna let you drive the fire truck.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Yeah, sorry, I'm at a benefit for firefighters, and I asked them if I could drive the truck, and they looked at me like, no. Homeless people can't drive our trucks.
That's right, no kidding. You are not nearly hot enough to drive his truck.
No.
It's simple as that, dude.
They got 3 of them here. I mean,
yeah,
they just
still,
one.
you're not nearly pretty enough to drive the fire truck.
Well, I don't want a uniform.
It's funny. As you were talking, I went to the iPhone, the Apple page for the iPhone XS and X Max, and looking at the comparison on the website between the Max and the S, you can see it is significantly taller and a little bit, but noticeably wider than the S. The Max is. And I think I hadn't realized it was that much of a difference. But that's really the only difference in the two, isn't it? Is the screen
That's the only difference. I mean, you can look even at the specs page, and all the way down it just says both phones, except when it comes to the screen and some things like that, where it says the dimensions of each. So you're spending an extra $100 for a bigger screen or no bigger screen.
Yeah,
you're getting the exact same stuff inside. The exact same design, everything is exactly the same. So,
now the biggest deal, and this surprised the hell out of me when I first started reading the reviews, yours included, the biggest deal seems to be the cameras. And usually Apple's cameras are incrementally better than the previous version, and if you skip a version, then the camera gets significantly better. But it sounds like this time around, from the iPhone 10 to the iPhone XS and XS Max, it is significantly better cameras. I mean, noticeably different just with one generation. And it sounds like you found that in the pictures that you took with the S and the Max.
Absolutely. And the one example I gave of the pictures is that I went to opening night with the Sharks game. Actually, that night we did a podcast.
Yep.
You and I, and I was getting ready to go to the game. So at that game, I was standing with friends, and we were invited up to a suite.
Nice. So
we were very high, but we were also directly in the line of sight of the lights.
Yes.
Those big bright lights up top. And the ice down below, of course, is white, and it's shining. So we were taking pictures of everybody facing the ice, and we took them with an iPhone 10 and then my Max. And the difference in the pictures was stunning when you looked at them, because the iPhone 10 took a great shot of the people.
Yeah.
But the problem was the lights were so bright behind it that it washed everything else out.
Sure.
So the background was washed out. Now, if you could take those people and put them, you could have put them in front of a Hawaiian background, that would have looked great.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see the people in the audience. You couldn't see anything, basically, because of the flare of the light.
Sure. Yeah.
So when I looked at the iPhone Max, the Max, you could see people. The light was not gone, but really, I don't know how to put it, dimmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was less bright in the picture, and you could actually see people and signs they were holding in the audience.
Yeah.
So that was pretty significant. And well, you know me, I didn't do anything to the camera because I wouldn't know how. So
yeah,
I didn't do anything to adjustments. I didn't do anything to the pictures afterwards. I took them, I looked at them, and thought, wow, that's kind of cool, because now I can take pictures. And one thing I was really trying to do was going to the Aussie show to take some low light pictures.
What an awful story that is, dude.
Yeah. So that didn't happen, but
poor Jim's son comes all the way down from Nova Scotia to hang out with you and go to the Aussie show, and Aussie cancels on you. Was it 2 nights in a row?
No. He canceled about an hour and a half before the show started, and then they scheduled it for a week and a half later.
Okay.
But that was, my son was gone by then. But then he canceled that one and scheduled it for 4 days after that, and then he canceled that one until sometime next year.
Oh, that sucks. Sorry to hear that.
But by that time, I had already gotten a refund.
Yeah, that's too bad. So I assume you're going to. Yeah, why not assume? I know you're going to another hockey game at some point in the future. You'll be able to basically redo these images, because unfortunately you lost the images. But I think that's the key for this huge leap in what Apple calls computational photography. It's a term that was invented by Google years ago. But that's where the big leap is coming from, I think, is that Apple's software has gotten so much better. Yeah, the camera elements, the physical hardware has gotten better, but their software has gotten a lot better as well. And the thing is, it means that for people like you who are perfectly average, if not below average photographers, these kinds of blown out highlights, which happens all the time. You're talking about a bright white sheet of ice and studio lighting that's directly in the way of the camera. That's where a lot of blown out white spots happen. That's not happening in a lot of these photos that I'm seeing from people. And that's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make you feel better about your photographs, and maybe that means people will just take more photographs.
Well, and the funny thing about this is, I mean, that old saying, the best camera is the one that you have with you.
Yep.
That's true, but, you still take shitty pictures.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, okay, you got this sunset, but it doesn't even look like, it looks like, clouds of donkeys or something, it's all blurry and everything. All the pictures that I took that night, none of them were blurry.
Yeah.
I was so proud of myself.
And I think that's a big deal. I don't think the average reviewer is seeing that aspect of it. And that's why I was so interested in getting your thoughts. When I read what this was going to do, my first thought was to you and the kind of photographer you are, which is just someone who likes taking photos, but just doesn't do it very well.
Well, there you go. And yeah, that's exactly me.
But it's great that if Apple can give you the tools that will make you take better photos, not make you a better photographer, but help you take better photos, I think it's a fantastic thing. I think it's just an amazing achievement from Apple.
Oh, it truly is. And, that's going to help. Maybe pro photographers aren't going to like something like that. Maybe they're going to look at that and say, oh, I don't need that. I don't want that. But, for the average person who is probably 99% of the people using the iPhone, I think it's going to be just magnificent.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely the case. I mean, that bokeh or that fake blur that Apple's putting on these apps, pros are going to go, yeah, I can do that in my DSLR easier, faster, better. And when I see some photos that some people have taken and they've used that blur, that background blur, I can see how obvious it is and how it messes up sometimes. But the average person can't. The average person goes, hey, that's really cool. I really like that effect, or like the way the background is blurring, and this is good enough for me to post to Instagram or put on Facebook or send to family and friends. And that's good enough. That's absolutely fine. If this makes people want to take more photos, I got no problem with it whatsoever. I don't care if it's fake. I don't care if it's all done in software or any way it's done. As long as it makes people feel better about the images they're taking, I'm all for it.
What do you mean it's fake?
Well, that background blur thing where you slide your finger across the f-stop.
It's not fake, man.
It's
No,
it's fake.
it happens. I saw it. I did it. It's not fake.
Yes, it's
No, it's not fake. Okay, well, you say what you want. Now you're just being petty.
No, I'm not.
Now you're just
I'm
petty.
not. It's. I can show you examples of how the bokeh or the blur isn't done properly.
Mm-hmm.
Did I hurt your feelings?
Phil was there. Phil was there on stage. I saw him. That wasn't fake, and I've done it myself. That's not fake.
But that's this computational photography thing. That's why this is so brilliant. It's being done all in software inside the chip of the iPhone, not done with camera lenses or not done with the distance the camera is for the f-stop or the aperture of the camera.
Yeah.
We
now I'm just pissed off. I mean,
I can tell. the iPhone XR goes on pre-sale, I believe, tonight at midnight. You said off the top, and I want to reiterate, I agree with you. I think this is going to be the exact same thing as the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and the 10 from last year. People thought, the 10's too expensive. People will just buy the Plus and the 8. And the 10 turned out to be the most popular phone that Apple sold all of last year.
Of course.
The same thing's going to happen with the Max. It's the XR is going to have its own niche, mostly for people who want to have colors on their phone or save some bucks, and that's fantastic. Yep. I'm glad Apple is doing that. My wife is probably going to get an iPhone XR because she doesn't need the fancy camera, but she likes the colors. But I think the vast majority of people are going to go for that high-end Apple S Max and really look forward to seeing Apple poke an eye into all these analysts and when they do their sales figures in 3 months or in 6 months, and Tim Cook will go, "Yep, it was the number one seller again, you jackasses."
Yep. Well, I think what's going to happen is it's going to be the Max is the number one.
Yep.
The XS is the number 2, and the XR is the number 3. Overall, I think they're going to sell more iPhones than what they had previously.
See, now I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
And it's exactly right. But the people who have made up their mind that they want the best technology and the fastest phone are not going to change their mind because they can get a blue one.
That's right. Yep.
But there are going to be some of those people that if your only choice is the XS and the XS Max, well, take the XS because it's a bit cheaper. But wait, now there's an XR that's like, $250 cheaper. And I can get, blue or coral. Yeah, that's the phone for me right there. And that's great. It's just going to bring more people in.
I think your second and third choices will flip. I think we're going to see the Max be the number one seller. I think the XR or 10R, as Monty is getting very upset that we're calling it the X, the 10R is going to be second, because I think the difference in price between the S and the Max, you'll pay the extra for the Max.
Well, no. See, here's the problem with some of that, though. People are going to buy, think about this. Parents will buy a phone and give their kids the 10. So that's a lost sale for one of them.
Sure.
But they're not going to buy, chances are, the XR.
Yeah.
They're going to buy the XS. So, and then pass down the 10. People will buy an XS for their wives who may not want a bigger phone in their purse or, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So that's an XS sale. But but some people really don't like the bigger size, and whatever turns you on, That's fine.
Yep, I agree.
Tim doesn't care. Phil doesn't care.
That's right. As long as you're buying iPhones, they don't care which one it is. Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. I want to let you go, Jim. I didn't realize you were at a fireman's benefit, so thanks very much for doing this tonight. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem at all.
Thanks,
and
buddy.
Now I'm going in to take a bokeh shot, and I'm going to show you it's not fake.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
He's a funny man. Isn't he a funny man? We'll be right back after this.
Hello, my name is Melissa King. I'm Your Mac Life's official spokes Australian. As Shawn begins his 25th year of broadcasting on the internet, he has asked me to say a few words to you all. Send money. What? Why not? More? Okay. When you listen to Your Mac Life, you'll notice there are no ads, no commercial breaks, no 5-minute ad reads for products you've already bought or have no interest in buying. That's because Your Mac Life is entirely listener-supported, and not even listener-supported via a paywall or a subscription service. It's simple. If you like Your Mac Life, you can pay for it. If you don't want to pay for it, you don't have to. You can still listen. But we'd really like it if you did. On the Your Mac Life homepage at yourmaclifeshow.com, on the top left, there is a subscribe to YML box. You can send any amount you'd like each month automatically from your credit card or PayPal account. It's set for $2, $5, $10 or $15, but you can set it for any amount by clicking the donate button. The best part is you'll barely notice it. It's $2, but it makes a huge difference to us here at Your Mac Life. It means we can pay for website hosting, internet access, new computers and software to run the show on, and so much more. So, if you like Your Mac Life, please subscribe. $2 will make a tiny dent in your wallet, but when enough people subscribe, it makes a huge difference to Your Mac Life. I'm Melissa King. Thank you.
In our starting point photography session segment on tonight's show, I got an email from, I just want to get her name, I think I've been saying it wrong, Deborah Stern. Deborah writes, "Hi, my husband and I are interested in joining you for the photo tour in Lisbon next March. Yay!
Oh, yay.
I was curious if you have put one of these together before. Also, is there a special rate for the hotel you listed as where we should stay? I look forward to hearing from you." So I immediately wrote back to Deborah and said, "Well, of course. Yes," I said, "Yes, we've done this before. I've done similar beginning photography workshops throughout the U.S. and Canada. Did one in New York, in New York State, in Portland, in Houston, all over the place, Vancouver. And I understand the question. I have no problem with the question. The question is, do you know what the hell you're doing?"
Yes, good question.
So Deborah, absolutely, yes. I think it's not me patting myself in the back too much to say I'm really good at teaching this stuff.
You are so good at it, Shawn.
I really love doing it. My enthusiasm comes through when I teach it. I have fun teaching it. Mm-hmm. And the people who have taken the class have always said that they were good classes, that they enjoyed them. I think one of my proudest things was during Macworld Expo, when I taught this during Macworld Expo, like most conferences, they give you, after the end of each session, you've got an evaluation form to fill out. And IDG used those. IDG, the guys who ran Macworld Expo, they used those evaluation forms to see whether they want to invite you back the next year. So if you had shitty evaluations, obviously they're not going to let you come back next year.
Yes.
So they evaluated you on a bunch of criteria, and then they averaged it out. They told the instructors what your responses were in a general sort of sense. And all the evaluations were out of 5. And I never got anything lower than a 4.8 on all my evaluations on knowledge, on enthusiasm, on whatever things they were doing it. So I know I teach these classes really well. I've never tried to do something like this overseas, but it's really not that different. The location. The location doesn't matter, but it does matter, and I'll explain why in just a second. Is there a special rate for the hotel? Yes, there is. Remember, there's the early bird special. You get $100 off per person if you sign up by October 31st. So it's $500. The fee is $500 for the instructional part. Hotel and airfare are on you. I actually had someone say, "Is the $800 included in the airfare?" No. So it'd be $400 per person if you sign up by October 31st. And the hotel, we've got Tesoro de Baixa.
You'll get that every time now.
Tesoro de Baixa has been very kind. And so the other thing I noticed on TripAdvisor, I got this email from TripAdvisor. Never even asked for this information. But the Tesoro de Baixa guest house has got nothing but 5-star ratings.
Beautiful.
And it's not like it's 2 ratings; it's like 500 ratings, and it's all been 5-star stuff. So that's
very beautiful
really
too. It looks gorgeous.
So that makes me very happy to know that the hotel itself has got very, very good ratings. But they've been very kind to us. One of the problems I found with all the European all the Lisbon hotels, and it's common throughout Europe, is that they have a non-refundable rate that's significantly lower than the free cancellation rate. And I didn't want to give anyone. I didn't want to make anyone do a non-refundable rate 6 months ahead of the event. So it was really hard to get some hotel to work with us in this. So what they're doing is they're taking a 20% deposit when you book your room, but not charging the full rate until 7 days before the event. So you've got up until 7 days ahead to cancel and get your 20% deposit back. So that's fantastic of them, very kind of them to do that for us. And it's a lovely hotel. There's a bunch of different rooms that you can choose, and the rooms are reasonable. They're around €100. It's about $110, $120 US a night, which is pretty doggone good for that location. We're in the central area of Lisbon. It's easy walking distance to a lot of really cool things. It's easy public transit distance to a lot of cool things. It's an easy place to navigate and get around. So I'm very happy with the hotel. If you want more information about some of the things we're doing, startingpointphotography.com/Lisbon. I'm putting a bunch of different things on that page. Then she said, I said something along the line. Let me just make sure I tell you what she. She said, "We are for sure beginners with our DSLR. My husband will be the photographer, and I'll be along for the trip." And I said, "I promise you'll learn enough and have enough fun that you'll want to take photos right along with him." I think that's the key. It's one of the things I always try to get across to potential students. You don't have to have a fancy DSLR. This is not one. As soon as I picked it up, I knew it was the wrong camera. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a fancy DSLR to take the class, to join us. If you shoot with an iPhone, if the iPhone is your favorite camera, you're going to learn a bunch of stuff on the iPhone. The vast majority of the tips, tricks, techniques that I'm going to talk about in Lisbon have nothing to do with the camera per se. It's about how to see, how to look, how to experience a photographic moment rather than the device you're using. If you know how to use a DSLR, you'll get better pictures in general than with an iPhone. But if your iPhone is your favorite camera, or you know how to use the iPhone, you're going to get great shots with the iPhone. I grabbed these photos as an example of that. And take a look at these shots. These are shots that I'll ask this. Melissa, was this shot with a professional DSLR camera or with a smartphone?
Oh, I'm going to go with smartphone.
Okay, why do you say that?
It's just a very obvious, beautiful shot that I think anybody would take with the leading. I just think it's not anything too complicated. It's pretty gorgeous. Pick up your phone and take a picture.
This is a great example of a image that anybody can get.
Right.
We are going to, I think this is the Commercial Plaza, Comerica. I'm probably saying it wrong. That statue off in the distance is a very well-known statue, and the tile on the ground here. This is the shot you and I have seen from above, and that tile looks spectacular.
It's so beautiful.
We're going to this place. We're going to stand in this spot. You can get this picture. This is an easy picture to get. You have to know where it is, and you have to see the picture. You've got to be walking around looking for an image. It doesn't matter what camera you use on this. You're going to get a good shot. This is the train station. Yeah, I think if you come in from the airport, you'll go into this train station. I love the roof of this train station.
It's very
just
beautiful. So it must be plexiglass.
It could be,
between
yeah.
as well, but it is beautiful.
It's just all those lines on it. And there's another shot in this sequence where there is no train there. And this is an example of a shot where I would stand here and take a picture with the train coming in, and another shot with no trains in it and see which one was different. The other thing I would do is
with some people,
I would take a shot intentionally to blur the train. It'd be kind of neat if you took a longer exposure shot and, a slower shutter speed shot, so the train would be blurry. In slow shutter speed shots, anything that's moving will be blurry, and anything that's not moving will be in focus. So if you do this, let's say on a tripod at 1/5 of a second, the train will be blurry, but the roof of the train station will be fine.
So you want your DLSR to do that?
But you can do that on the iPhone.
Oh,
you can. We'll talk about this in software. We'll talk about how you can. You can't do it with the native iPhone app, but you can do it with other iPhone apps.
You can slow the shutter down.
Yep, that's right. And that's going to be something we're talking about in a future show of how to use these kind of alternative iPhone apps. But this is a place we're going to go, and you're going to be able to get this kind of picture. This is another building we're going to go to. And this is an example of, it doesn't matter what kind of camera you use. What's important here is that you're looking around.
It's the eye. It's looking for that interesting.
Yeah. It's not just one of the things that we see people doing all the time in the classes is just always looking straight ahead. But I try to get people to look around, look 360 degrees and up and down.
And behind them.
And behind you. Look around you. Just stop and just sort of look all around you for the shot. It doesn't matter what kind of camera you have on this shot. It's the seeing the shot. It's knowing that this image is there.
I think that almost drives home your message of you don't need the expensive equipment. It drives home to me, just go out and practice being a photographer with the easiest thing that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Your phone. And that's all you're thinking about is just,
whatever you're most comfortable with. Again, this is a place we're going to go. This is another beautiful example. I believe this is from the Castle São Jorge, the Moorish castle. It's up on the hill. And this is just a matter of, as you're walking through the castle, looking out these windows and seeing this wonderful framing of the shot. Anybody can get this shot with any camera. It doesn't matter what camera you have.
And the light, if they have an eye for the light.
But that's the other thing is, too, going when the light, like this is obviously at sunset or at sunrise. This is not at noon. This is first thing in the morning or in the evening to get these shots. But again, that doesn't matter with the camera. What matters is your eye and your knowledge that, it's sunrise or it's sunset. I should go out and take these pictures. This is a shot, obviously. Oh, yes. I was going to say sunrise or sunset, but That's because the way Lisbon.
Yeah, well, the way it faces.
It's got to be in the west.
It's got to be in the west.
Those are sunset.
Sets.
But this is a shot Melissa and I have seen a dozen of times on our Instagram accounts. But we've never seen anyone sitting in those spots.
Never.
I can't wait to
Too perfect.
It's not. You know what would be more perfect? The more perfect would be having a little cute little redhead sitting there.
That's right.
That'd be perfect.
Or your class, even.
Dave D says that tile is amazing. And that
It is,
tile is all over Lisbon. It is everywhere we've seen. It's called Azulejos. It's actually a national tile museum or national Azulejos museum. We're definitely going to the Azulejos museum.
Oh, I love it.
The train station has this kind of tile on it. There are monasteries with this kind of tile on it.
Well, they're
Beautiful.
protected.
Yes,
as they go around and they're protected now because they get stolen.
But again, that's a shot that's easy to take. If you know where that place is, you go there at sunset, boom, shot. It's there. Yeah. It's not rocket science. These are easy shots to take that anyone can take with any kind of camera. Another example of a sunset shot. This is the Belém Tower. It's one of the most famous images that you'll see in Lisbon. And this is an easy shot to take. You go at sunset, you wait for the sun to get to that point. But in this case, you wait for the sun to get down to a certain level, and then you start moving around to get the sun right behind.
Because I see this shot as someone has a beautiful eye. Because I love the boardwalk,
Yep.
and just the way they've lined it up is quite impressive.
But this is, again, an easy shot to get. This is not a hard place to stand
and get a good shot.
This spot, we're all going to stand there. It's an easy spot to stand. It's not a secret spot. It's not off in the distance. It's not a hike up a mountain or anything else like that. This is the spot that people stand to take these kinds of pictures. And that leading line of that boardwalk is just beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Now, the interesting thing about this shot is, and I'm almost 100% positive this is an iPhone shot, it's because of the blown out sun here. Because that sun is just a white blob. That white blob is probably because they're shooting with a cell phone, a smartphone of some kind.
Right.
And smartphones don't do these hot spots very well. This is what we were talking about in the interview with Jim with the iPhone iPhone 10s and iPhone 10s Max. They do a much better job of fixing those hot spots than even the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10's got a great camera on it. So that's going to be interesting to see if there's a difference there. But again, easy shot to make. This is the exact same shot as before, same place, but a different view of it. There's no sun in this one. It's not the two seats. This is the one seat more focused on the bell tower of the church in the distance as opposed to the foreground. The foreground's slightly blurry. I don't know if you folks can see it on the video. The foreground's a little bit blurry, and that central tower is what the focus is on. But this is a whole different shot. Same place, but just looking at it with a little more focus. As opposed to the big picture, the wide-angle shot, this one's a little narrower. This is a shot I wouldn't have somebody sitting in. I wouldn't have someone in.
No, that's
in
not the
spot.
feature. That's not the feature of the photograph. A person.
The light in the front of the church in that shot is gorgeous, Monty
It
says.
is.
The red roofs are the emphasis of this shot, exactly.
And
having a person there would
take
distract.
away from that.
But that's what we're talking about. When you come to the class, when you come to the workshops, this is the kind of stuff we're teaching you. It's not necessarily the technical aspects of that a particular camera, whether it be the iPhone or DSLR, but you will learn some of those things. It's more about me teaching you how to see and where to look, and once you're in a place, how to shoot those scenes. This spot here, I would do exactly that. I would take one wide shot, then I would take a shot with Melissa in it, then I would take another shot like this. You take varying shots in various ways, and you visualize the shots ahead of time. Now that you've seen this shot, if you're coming with me to Lisbon, when we go to this spot, you can say, I remember that shot. I wonder if I can get something like that for my own personal collection. Or maybe I can get my husband to stand there, and I'll get this wonderful view of him kind of thing. So this is what you're going to learn when you come with us to Lisbon. This is an easy shot. This is the Castle São Jorge. You can see this from almost anywhere in the city. It's a beautiful shot with all those tiles looking up towards this old 14th century Moorish castle.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether you've got a DSLR, it doesn't matter whether you've got an iPhone or smartphone, whatever. This is a shot you can get regardless. I want to do this shot.
That is so
We're
cool.
not going to be able to because this looks like it's in the fall because of the leaves on the ground.
Well,
but just this angle of the shot. This is the little train that moves through the various palaces in the town of Sintra. So you go from the Penna Palace to the National Palace, and you can go on this little tram.
oh, I didn't realize that.
And this is dead simple to do. Just go stand in front of the tracks, right? Just lean down, get a nice little low-angle shot with your iPhone or DSLR, and shoot this lovely shot. The leading line to the trees
it's beautiful.
and the towers and the railroad tracks is just a fantastic shot. This is another one. This is another example of a really dead easy picture to take. These trams are all over Lisbon. Electric trams. We'll be taking these. We'll be traveling on these things, and you'll be able to get all kinds of shots. I guess. And again, this could be an iPhone shot. This could be a DSLR shot. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. Another spot we're definitely going to go to. This is a convent that its roof was destroyed in the devastating 9.5 on the Richter scale earthquake in 1755, destroyed the vast majority of the city of Lisbon, literally changed the course of world history because Portugal as a world power was no longer, was devastated and was no longer able to extend its power the way it had been before the earthquake. But they've left this convent the way it is now, and this is another shot that's easy to get and able to shoot this shot with an iPhone or DSLR. It's just a matter of standing in the right place and getting the right angle.
That fascinates me. That convent. I can't wait to see that convent.
To see it. Yeah. And to find more about the history. Again, there's another example of this spot, and this is wonderful because we've seen 3 different pictures of the same spot. So as a photographer, you can take 3 different pictures. Don't just think you can only take one shot of this. Remember, when we're going there. Why did you shrink your share?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I shrank in the middle of the show. I'm sorry. Keep going. You had such a wonderful role.
I can't because now the video's all screwed up because you're 2 feet lower than you were before.
I'm so sorry. Wait.
Goofball.
How's that?
No, go with. Oh, what's wrong with the height you were at before? My wife, ladies and gentlemen.
I couldn't touch the ground. Wait.
Bachelor of Science degree, respected member of her community, can't operate an office chair.
Got it. I hate office chairs. I don't have an office. Okay.
Don't touch those buttons on the side of the chair ever again.
Yes. So keep going with this other. It's perspective.
So this is the same space, the same area, but with different perspectives. The previous one was a focus on the bell tower in the evening, so that's why the light was so pretty. This one is obviously a bright sunny day. From the shadows, it looks like it's probably close to noon before or after, and the focus is on the tiles with the background all blurry. And again, this is something you can do in your iPhone or your DSLR or your mirrorless or whatever it might be. So here's that shot of the exact same spot, but no train in it. And it gives it a different feel to it. The train gives you the sense of energy, of movement through the shot. With no train there, now it's very static. And that may or may not be a good thing. It's your choice.
Well, it makes you think it's all very quiet.
Talking to your microphone.
Oh, it makes you think it's all very quiet and still.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I love. There's something about red.
I love doors.
I love red doors.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. It's little red doors. I will always take a picture of a red door.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's really neat. This is a perfect example of seeing the shot. This is just a door.
Mm-hmm.
If you're walking from point A to point B, and point B is very important to you, you're not looking around.
Mm-hmm.
But as photographers, as travelers, as not tourists, but as visitors, as explorers, we're going to walk around areas fairly slowly. And I'm going to try to do my best to help you see shots like this. Because the thing I love about this shot is, for some strange reason, these shoes hanging in the window I love the plants above the door.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Oh, I'd love a door like that.
But those shoes, for some reason, make this shot for me.
You do. They make it simply charming.
I don't know why. Also, I think the off-kilterness of the street, because this Lisbon is built on 7 hills, so there's going to be a lot of hills on these streets. So it's a lot of the sidewalks are going to be a little off-kilter.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Monty says it's off-axis, and it bothers me for some reason. Monty, I'd Photoshop that post out of the door shop. Yeah, I can see you could do that because it's off-kilter. But these are the kind of simple little scenes. You know, everyone's going to get the shot of the Belém Tower. Everyone's going to get a shot of the São George Monastery. And those are okay. Those are tourist shots, and it's fine to take them. But I'm going to help you look and see for these kinds of shots. We're going to walk around the back alleys of the Alfama district, up and down these streets, looking for this kind of stuff. And it's going to be a lot of fun playing around.
It's the feels of the place.
Another angle of this one with the red door in the background. But again, it's the same spot, different looks and different feels, different times.
It's a bit brighter in that one. It's not so.
And then we're back to the beginning. So hopefully that gives you a greater sense of what I'm going to help you see. There will be classes about shooting with a smartphone, an iPhone in particular. There will be classes, or at least segments of classes, talking about the DSLR and how to get certain things with the DSLR. But the other thing is, as we're walking around, you are going to be completely free to go, hey, Shawn, how do I get this shot with my iPhone? Or how do I get this shot with my DSLR? Or I'm envisioning this. How do I accomplish that in the camera? It's going to be an hour of theory each morning, but then 2.5, 3 hours of practice. Practice. I'm always beating on students because that's so important that none of this stuff happens. Your efforts in Lisbon are going to be completely wasted if you don't practice doing this stuff when you get back home. When you don't, Melissa has been beating herself up about this, that you haven't been practicing being a photographer. That the things that you hopefully have learned from me over whatever period of time, you're not putting into practice, and you tend to forget them when you go to take
there
a
are
shot.
certain ones I have, and then now I have to work on the other ones that I don't have.
That's
yeah,
right.
and I love going out and doing it for an hour and 2 hours.
And the practice thing means it becomes automatic. Like for me now, I look at these scene. I look at a scene. I immediately know what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at, how to change my camera, whether it's my iPhone or whether it's a DSLR, how to accomplish what I see in my mind's eye. And it doesn't. Some people think that I'm just standing there for 20 minutes trying to figure this out. Yeah, the first few times you will, but
a lot of times,
the more practice you do, you're narrowing that window. Where after a while, as a beginner, it probably will take you maybe 10, 15 seconds. You look at something and go, "Ooh, that's oh, click." So keep that in mind when you're.
But it's like Dave said earlier: the best shots are the ones that you wait for. It's a good practice. You know what I mean? Sorry.
I think even for professional photographers, my first thought when you said that was that there are some shots you can't wait for. There are shots. One of my favorite photographers is a friend of mine named Clark Little in Hawaii, who does amazing shore break shots. I'm thinking about another guy, Matt Oxley, who takes incredible high-speed photography shots of motorcycles. And I thought, well, they're not waiting for it. But in fact, they are. They are waiting for it. They know what's going to happen ahead of time. They see into the future. Matt, when he's shooting motorcycles, knows a bike is going to come at that point, and he's waiting for that bike to come at that point. Clark Little knows the waves of Hawaii. He knows the shore break of Hawaii, and he knows that, okay, this wave isn't going to be anything, but this next wave is going to be. He waits for the wave. So yeah, it's a good shot. It's a good thought that the best one's.
Well, I love that thought because as a novice, you can think, I know. It gives you a bit more of a chance. That's all.
Yes, I agree. As always, if you have any questions about photography in general or about a Lisbon trip, please send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. I love getting emails from you guys. And as you know, I love helping folks figure out photography. That's what this is all about, is helping you guys figure this stuff out. I got an email from Ong Zot. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm sorry, Ong, if I'm saying your name wrong. He says, your photo critiques crack me up. The biggest and most often used words in all photography are, I could do that, and in all art for that matter. Not to mention that art is an opinion. He says, you really need another opinion on your show. You state everything like it's a fact. Centering the horizon is a choice by the artist. There is no rule or fact that says it doesn't make a nice picture. That's just your opinion. Ong's right, except whenever we're talking about photography on the show, my focus photography-wise is always on beginners. Always on people who are just learning how to do this stuff. And like most things, you need to know what the rules are before you start breaking them. The vast majority of times when a beginner centers a shot, the horizon is dead center, the shot is better if they raise or lower the horizon. If the shooter has intentionally done that horizon thing for aesthetic reasons or whatever reasons, that's fine. That's great. But for beginners, I want them to learn first what the commonality is. The rule of thirds. Rory, when we went on our bike ride to Stanley Park a couple months ago in the summertime, our son Rory, we stopped underneath the Lionsgate Bridge. And Rory took this really cool picture with the line underneath the Lionsgate Bridge with the bridge dead center in the image. He broke the rule of thirds. And he doesn't know what the rule of thirds are, but he's got a good eye for a 12-year-old, and he did this. And there was no way I was going to tell him, Rory, don't do that. Don't put your bridge dead center, because it would be better off to the side. It wouldn't have been. The symmetry of that image.
It's a great shot.
Was perfect. It would have looked worse if he had stayed with the rule of thirds. So yeah, there are some times when it doesn't work, but it helps for beginners to know what the rules are in order to be able to break them. That's why I say for beginners, don't center your horizon.
Good point, though.
It is. It absolutely is. He says, it's no secret that the new iPhone simulates f-stops. However, you stated that if you took the photo of the black fellow with a DSLR, his shirt wouldn't go out of focus. This is untrue. I shoot wine bottles at f1.4. I have to take 2 shots each time because if I focus on the label, the neck is out of focus and vice versa. I'm not quite sure what he means by that. And then he says, I have a guitar. It's a very nice, it's a very expensive guitar. It doesn't make me a professional musician. I'm still just a guy with a guitar. Again, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, Ong. And then he says, record your show in HD. It's 2018. We do record in HD. I just posted to YouTube in non-HD because this show doesn't need to be in HD, dude. No offense, but yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else care? I mean, if other people care whether you're watching this video right now in the archive, do you care that it's not HD? If enough people say they do, yeah, Monty, HD would add what to the show? Nothing, really. Do you want this face in HD? That face, yes. I can see wanting that face in HD. I have no problem with that face in HD. If someone could figure a way we could split screen this so that this side of the screen was different from that side of the screen, I'd be okay with that. But overall, MacMan, it would help when he shows photos. Okay. Other than that, not much would be gained. I don't show photos that much, so maybe I haven't thought too much about it from that point of view. The other thing is, I upload this. You know what part of it is? That's interesting. Part of it is I've been doing this for so long. We were always very, very proud of ourselves to be able to get the show up very quickly when we were doing the show as an MP3 file. We would be able to finish the show and it would be on the iTunes store, uploaded within half an hour. It always pisses me off, these podcasts that say, well, we did this interview last week, and in 2 more weeks we'll have it edited and posted for you. It'll be just a waste. People would do stuff at Macworld Expos. Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices was notorious for this. They were the folks at Mac Observer. These are the two that are most notorious for it. They would do interviews with somebody in January at Macworld Expo. The interviews wouldn't get posted till like March or April because I don't know why. They just didn't do it.
Kind of lost interest by then, maybe?
Really did. It really took the edge off.
In a fast-moving industry?
It really did. So for me, I we do record in HD. Then I have to edit the beginnings and ends of the show. I do that, and then when I export it at SD because the file is smaller, and then I upload that file to YouTube. So maybe I can upload 2 files, one in HD, one in I don't know. If you have any thoughts about this, let me know. Send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com if you care one way or t'other whether the show is in HD or not HD. Because like I said, I've never given it a whole lot of thought. It doesn't matter to me, but if it matters to the audience, because frankly, the only reason we ever did video to begin with was because the audience did ask me to do video. We were the very first podcast to ever do a video feed. First podcast to ever do live video. First podcast to ever record a video. First podcast to use video chat, as Apple used to call it. QuickTime Broadcaster, we were the first one. It was all that video stuff. We were the first ones to use it. And for the most part, it doesn't matter to me. If this was just a straight audio file, it wouldn't matter to me. It lets me do more things and show you guys more stuff, but I don't know that it needs to be in HD.
You need to do your own little evaluation form every now and again to see what people say.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like a Survey Monkey thing or something like that.
I've always said I want to hear from the audience. I've never, ever told the audience. I say it all the time during the show. Send me emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any opinions about the show, good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. Keeping in mind that you'll get the response that you'll get the same tone that you give me. If you're a jerk, I'll be a jerk right back to you. You know, Ong had an odd email, but he made some interesting points.
Stimulated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not wrong, but then again, neither am I. Because I'm talking to a different audience. I remember when I was teaching the class, I mentioned before, my friend Michelle used to be a photographer back in the 70s and 80s on film for Vogue and Elle. He was a literal Paris runway photographer. He shot covers for, Vogue magazine in Paris in the 70s. And he sat in on one of my classes because his wife was taking one of the classes at Macworld Expo. And he got to me afterwards. He said, I wouldn't have taught that the way you did, but I understand why you taught it that way. And he's right. I've had pros say to me, what about this? And I would go, yeah, you're right, but these are beginners.
They don't need to know. It's like that lady we met at the waterfall that day. That she was a keener, and she said, I did photography classes, but she said I went home and I put the paperwork in the bottom drawer and I never looked at it again. It's just not a functional way of teaching. It's
one of the things that I believe. I've read a lot of descriptions of photography classes, but if your photography class is a beginner class, you shouldn't use the words white balance, histogram, exposure compensation, that kind of stuff. That's things that are more for intermediate photographers. I want people to learn how to see photography and become better photographers no matter what camera they use before they start getting into technical details that don't really matter to a beginner.
They may not want to go that far in it.
And
not everybody wants to go that far.
And some beginners might want to, and I have no problem with that.
No.
But for me, the way I teach beginners is I want to keep things as simple as I can and have you focus and do those simple things very, very well before you move on to the next things. I think it's it. I think we're done.
There's no prizes.
Oh. Fine.
Is there?
Well, we can't because Mo's not in the chat room.
I thought Mo was here.
He had to leave.
He had to go to dinner.
He had to go for dinner. But we are going to give away a copy of Clean My Mac from the nice folks at MacPaw. Thanks very much to MacPaw for letting us give some copies of this stuff away. So we're going to give a copy away of this. I'm scrolling through our list as we speak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Stop.
No. You know what? Sorry. This is going to go out to Jerry Johnson in Tomball, Texas. Jerry, where is Tomball? I've never heard of Tomball, Texas.
Tomball? Huh.
No. Maps. I see stuff like this, and I'm just dead curious as soon as I see it. I want to find out where Tomball, Texas is. Tomball, Texas is. Scroll out. Come on. It's near Unfussy. Oh, it's outside of Houston. He's just northwest of Houston. So, Jerry, congratulations. You won a copy of Clean My Mac from the nice folks at MacPaw. And I'll send this stuff off to Clean My Mac. I'll send this stuff off to Jerry later on. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. And as always, I want to say thanks to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for being here each and every week. I want to say thanks to you guys for being tuned into the show number 1192. And again, if you have any questions about photography in general or about our Lisbon trip, please send me emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Until next week, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya! I say see ya, and then you say...
Bye! Sorry. Oh, dear.